Welcome back to Personal Productivity Using Technology with Dr. X. We are continuing our long journey with Excel functions and formulas from Word Chapter 2. So, as you can see, we have reviewed several different things, different references, how to use simple functions, how to use date and lookup functions, and how to use names to make our lives easier. That was the subject of the last couple of videos. And finally, the next two videos are going to be some more advanced functions, and the last one will be an overall a nice function madness that will recap all we've learned. For now, we will use the if function to perform logical tests, and let's get to it because this is a really exciting function. So we've got an if example over here that we can open. You can always go and download this from Blackboard. And our if example is a very nice way of figuring out how we use all this logic in our everyday life. I gotta tell you that the if function is one of the functions that kind of turns you into programmers or philosophers, because actually philosophy and computer science are not far distant apart. So, and here's why the if function turns you to computer programmers or philosophers. The if statement, it's a logical statement. So far too many times we may say, we think logically. We'll say, okay, if I wake up and it's cloudy outside, yeah, that's Florida, by the way, I will take an umbrella with me. Else, if it's not cloudy, I will not take an umbrella. So this is a logical thinking, a logical process that says, well, if the logical test, which is it cloudy? So and this is a logical test because it doesn't have anything to do with emotions, like if I like this guy, I'm going to talk to him. If I don't like him, I'm not going to talk with him. In this case, it only has to do with logic. So if I wake up and I see clouds in the sky, I'll take my umbrella. That's the result if the condition is true, if the logic condition is true. But if the logic condition is not true, there are no clouds in the sky, then I will not take an umbrella with me at school. So here in our example, we assume that this is your family and your mom is trying to figure out how she can pay you for the stuff that you did the past month, the chores that you did for the past month. So she's got this very nice spreadsheet, and she says, look, if you did the dishes, I am going to pay you $3 for this month. If you mowed the lawn, I'm gonna pay you, if this is yes, you did mow the lawn, I'm gonna pay you $3. If also it's yes, you took out the garbage, I'm gonna give you another $2, and so on and so forth. This is excellent example of an if statement where we compare and we say, okay, if this is Y, then yes, he did the job, so I'm going to give them an allowance. If this is an N, then they didn't do the job, so I'm not going to give them an allowance. So this is a perfect example of the if statement. Remembering where do I get my formulas, of course, it's the Formulas tab, and I can always use the insert function and type if, or I can always explore the logical menu. So if I type if, I get the first the first result, and it's the proper result. As you can see, Excel already switched me in calculator mode because I wanted to insert a function. Keep paying attention to these things. So now I've got my if function dialog box, and it seems to me that there's only one argument that I absolutely have to fill in, because there's only one argument that is bold. Unlike the VLOOKUP, that was so painful because I had to fill in at least 3 arguments or else. So in this case, I only have to fill in the logical test. And let's look at our logical tests here. We want to see if your mom wants to see if you did the dishes. So she's got a nice column where she fills in for the month. Did he do the dishes? Yes. So then she will give you an allowance of $3. So, which means that she looks at the B column and she says, well, if B2 is equal to yes, and as you can see, I used single quote before the Y because this is a logical comparison with a letter, and that can give me my result. But it seems like Excel is complaining. So let's see why it is complaining. Well, for a start, let's go to our insert function so that I can keep. And how did I know that it was complaining? Because I saw that when I went to my second argument, Excel was complaining that this is invalid. So there is something wrong with my statement. Okay, let's try without quotes. And again, there's a problem. So maybe double quotes. So this is an experimentation, and now this is a really, really good way to see how you don't have to memorize things. Okay, so way long ago, I had taught this formula before, and I remembered that when I have to compare a cell with a word or a string or a letter, I have to use quotes. But I didn't remember whether I needed to use double quotes or single quotes. Okay, one smart thing would be to use the help on this function. Another smart thing would be to experiment. Experimentation is good because on the right hand side I can always see the validation of my arguments. So if the validation already starts complaining with red and no, invalid, wrong, what are you doing here, what's that name, then I know that I'm doing something wrong. So that is yet another trick for your productivity and for debugging, for getting rid of the bugs, of the badness in your Excel spreadsheets. Because right now, you're programmers. You're not just super users. Now you're programming. You're writing a new language. You're writing code in Excelish. So, as we continue excelling, we are on logical test. We're done with the logical test. So if B2 is equal to Y, then indeed you did the dishes, so you can get the allowance, you can get the money, which resides in cell C2. So the output of the if function will be the money that resides in C2 if you have done the work, if the cell that resides in B is true, it's yes. But if you haven't done the work, guess what? You get 0, nada. So these two arguments, the value if true, this is going to be the value that the if function is going to show. It's going to be the output, the calculation of the if function if you did the work, if the B column has yeses all over, but if it doesn't have yeses and it has no's, guess what? You get 0, nada. So now I claim that this will work perfectly if I use the autofill feature. Because the way I'm thinking about it, if I use the autofill feature, if B3 is yes, then I'm going to get paid my allowance. If it's not yes, I'm going to get paid nada, which is the autofill feature. What the autofill feature is going to do, it's going to increase. And as you can see, you don't get paid anything for taking out the garbage because you didn't take it out. So you can always cross-check and say, look, B4 in this case is N. It's no, I didn't take out the garbage. So in this case, I should be paid 0. I should not be getting any money, any pocket money, if I didn't take out the garbage, which is the truth, which is what you get, 0. So I cross-check this way whether my if formula is correct. And here, just for fun and just for practice, I can calculate the sum of my allowance, which will be, oops, I moved it, which will be from D2 to D5, not until D6, but from D2 to D5. So I'm gonna get $8 because that's all I did. I only did mow the lawn, do the dishes, and walk the dog. I didn't take out the garbage. Fair and square. So that is one part of the if function. Comparing a cell, a logical comparison with a cell, and comparing the contents of a cell with yes or no, with a string. Okay, and that's why I've used the nice quotes, the double quotes, but I don't have to memorize this because, like I said, I have debugging ways. The important thing is that my logical test should result to either true or false. It should not, and this is counterintuitive because so far calculations result to a number usually. But in this case, I just want this test to be either true or false. Is it true? Did you do this job? Yes, you did it. So you'll get the money. So the value if true is getting money, getting the rate that you're assigned to get paid when you do these jobs. But if it's false, you get 0. Now here's another really nice reference, the really nice application of the if statement. You can always compare the cells in the B column with numbers. And let's say that your mom keeps track and she says, okay, for 80% of the days of the month, like let's say 25 days, I took the garbage, I did the dishes, okay? So if I did the dishes more than 50% of the month, more than 15 days, then I should get paid. I should get paid my allowance. So if I did the dishes for more than 50%, for more than 0.5, I should get paid. If I didn't do the job for more than 0.5, I should not get paid. So as you can see, the garbage, I did it for only 1/4 of the month. So for only a few days, much less than half the days of the month. So I shouldn't get paid. But I walked the dog every single day. I mowed the lawn every single day. And I did the dishes almost every day. So in this case, I'm going to use again the if statement. But in this case, I am going to be compare B2 with a number. I'm going to say, is this greater than 0.5? And as you can see, already the evaluation says yes, it's true. So my logical tests are not only tests between a cell contents and if it's equal to a text or if it's not equal to some text, they're also comparisons with numbers. Greater than, less than, equal, less than or equal, so you can say also greater than or equal, and that means greater than or equal to 0.5, so you can include the equal sign. So the value, if true, again is going to be you get paid if you did more than 50% of the days of the month this job, but if not, you get no money. And again, the result is going to be the same, and just for giggles, we're going to calculate the autosum, and just, oh, I need to be really coordinated with that. Oh well, I'll just type D5. And my allowance is the same, but now the if formula was using a comparison, was comparing its corresponding cell with the percentage of how much I've done, with a number. So a comparison with text, a comparison with number. Both of them very valid logical comparisons that the end result of these is either it's true or false. It's that logical. There's no middle. There's no sentiment or emotion or anything like that. It's logical. It's either true or false. That's it. Objective. And of course, I've got a nice little reference here, just showing off that I didn't use the grid lines in my page layout. So this nice example was taken from this reference. And now you know how to create a nice if formula. If formula is very versatile. You can have anything you want. I mean, I've helped my husband with his profit and loss spreadsheets, and I've helped him a lot, and the if formula is his most favorite formula. It's very versatile, especially because you can have comparisons with text,